If you've ever had any extreme mental illness, trauma, complex trauma, or felt alone like a misfit, this video is for you. And if you've ever had somebody, I guess, that you've tried to help, who you love, who is going through an extreme mental illness, well, then that would be for you too. Or if you're what you consider educated in the mental health field, this is where I'm gonna be a bit condescending and rude and say this video is especially for you, because on the mental health side in that field, I have yet to see anyone who is qualified to do their job. The faith component is that's going to turn around and happen. However, I can honestly say that the educated and the damage they did to my life personally, but also I'm not that naive. I've witnessed thousands and thousands and thousands of injustice, and then hundreds of people myself that I've witnessed and watched, even interviewed when I was a patient, throughout my life, that the educated have failed. And I keep hoping for somebody to prove me wrong, and it keeps going the other way. So without getting into the details today, a very stressful situation, again, triggered extreme PTSD. Something happens, an injustice. I'm better now that I can communicate better, but I had to. It's like, okay, what do you see of somebody and what's hidden? So I'm an exceptional performer, and that's the irony. So people would have to, like, my videos, I was diagnosed with multiple personality, bipolar, etc., bipolar disorder. And the irony is, in looking at my situation, finally I realized so I had no memory before February of 2020, getting that back, extreme traumas, lifetime of it, slowing down the brain, and then getting my memory, is the fact that I've always navigated around other people's personalities for safety, but I'm the only one who's ever got the diagnosis. So I never have done what was done to me. The people with the personality disorders are the ones around me, but I'm the only one who went to go get the help, all right, because I was abused, and then you're forced into the situation right? And then those people don't want to get caught, but they actually don't believe what they're doing is wrong. And the irony of that, and I say, so the faith component is there has to be educated people somewhere in the world in the mental health field that would be able to help me through this. And ironically, that's the faith component, that when you're as alone as I am and you sit with your thoughts because of it. So I've been lonely my entire life, lonely around people. And you feel like a misfit, or you're in the crowd and you can't figure out what's wrong with you. Well, that's where you do have to go inward. So everybody actually has to go on a journey inward. Mine was extremely forced, further isolation. I still have interactions, but very limited because people drain me. And then that creates the physical symptoms. And that was a crash. So going for a period. So if you're high functioning, ironically, and you can go a long time, everybody cares what people think. People that say they don't, well, you're lying, because we do what we do because we live in a world with each other, and it's like that's the projection of it. So if you became a doctor, really, why did you become a doctor? A lot of them don't realize they came for their status, for their things to be okay, and that's ironically why a lot of them have done so much damage. Or a lawyer, or a whatever, social status on why people do what they do. If you basically, at the end of the day, if you abuse your power over anyone, that's the biggest weakness. And that's the irony, again, of why I'm in the situation I am in. So it takes away my cognitive ability to focus on anything else. So I can be hyper-focused. And this is where I haven't been officially diagnosed with autism, and generally not with girls that they would do this. But I've learned in this process, that's my brain and what I can see. I'm hypersensitive to sounds now, right? In the last number of years, it wasn't like this before, but how I functioned, ironically, they'll be on medication the majority of my life, their medication. I'm not against meds, but I'm against how it was forced on me, and I'm against the fact that there was never any help from it. And then when I did, there's a whole story behind that. So there's a time and place for that. However, in my situation, that kept my memory repressed. When those memories came back, the sensory issues. So I'm hypersensitive. So it's like sometimes, and that's why some people would get, so I get headaches. I see spots, I get very dizzy. So I'm trying to work through this because I've had episodes where I collapse, and then I ended up in the hospital because I lose function of my body or my cognitive ability. So right now, even I'm speaking, but my speech is starting to go, my mind is starting to go, but I want to get the words out. And so avoid it. And my head is really hurting, and I'm seeing spots in front of me, and I'm losing my cognitive ability. But I'm trying to really push this out, because that's actually what happens more. But I've gotten better at being able to express it, but then I can get it out. I can create something, but then that's all I can do. So I can be, it's like a hyper genius because I have so much in my head, I got to get it out, but that's all I can focus on because I'm so angry and I'm so triggered, but I'm also so focused through spirit, because it's like presence are in the teachings. And when I say I became a monk, monks are generally men. I was born a woman. My family, my great uncle was Pope John Paul's advisor. I have a lot of family that's tied in. I was raised Catholic, into the churches, into the things. However, I'm a person who believes in spirit, and spirituality. Having lived in hell, that's a whole different story. So to meditate, I'm always in, and I've always believed in a God, which I believe is everything. I would not, this is the creative component. So I've created alter egos. I was diagnosed with multiple personalities. However, my videos have helped me become aware of all of those personalities, and that's been the education, not only myself for my healing, but what I intend to do for education on the PTSD component, that the brain is millions of years old. So our brain came from somewhere else to somewhere else. Where do our thoughts come from? What are we aware of? Those thoughts. So it's like you watch a show and then you like feel this almost like the spirit of that person that you watched the show on, in a sense. Well, it's the same kind of principle. If somebody's not in your direct presence, but their spirit is kind of around, meaning like you still hear their voices or their fear, like your mom, your dad, what's the difference if they're alive or they're dead? What's it really in this world or not? In a sense, if I've stopped interacting with all the people that I once knew, aren't I dead? If you can't message me or talk to me anymore or interact with me, and you had that opportunity, because I can't be there for anyone, and I'm not safe the way I've had to navigate around things, aren't I already dead? Okay. The voices are the things that, like, could you hear my voice maybe? That's like, could I visit you in spirit? If you have the memories of XYZ. What happens is, I've learned, we project on every single one of us. It's the messages. Our perception of the world is based on our own reality and our own action. So we think somebody is something, but maybe they're not. And that's the point, is like, who's coming through you? So I myself, since childhood, I didn't realize this either, but so hyper aware of my dreams that I was able to control them at a young age. So nightmares, I once learned I could go into my nightmares to communicate with. So I was having a lot of dreams, for example, of going into tunnels, things with reptiles. They were very scary. So I would go into the dreams, communicate with those dreams, and speak. Okay. And then I kind of put it aside. Well, in my life now, when I sleep at night, my dreams, I can be hyper aware. I'm aware of the dream when I wake up. I'm aware of what happened. I'm aware of who's playing almost like a character throughout that dream to give me a message. So our dreams, actually, it's like the spirit of somebody that's in our life, but it could come through. We were watching something on the TV. It could be a celebrity that's in the dream. It's like almost a communication, like an avatar version. So being aware of those dreams, kind of shifts the day and almost messages back and forth. So in spirit, being alone as much as I have, and one of those base things, so like Sigmund Freud teaches, there's only sex. Well, when you were as a victim of sex crimes from an early age, one, you're taught, and then no love. So when you're taught you're only a product and you're only meant for certain things, but you're navigating around, it's like you're not a person. Sex energy, though, is an exchange, and we all have that in a vibration, which is a frequency. And people that have it extremely turned off, ironically, it's that repression. Well, it's not it has to come to the surface, because it's like all of us have that. So what's in your subconscious mind, that consciousness. So I would say, so having not been with anyone since my husband, so this is now going on almost 5 years, but being the thoughts of sex are very much there because of the trauma. So I myself too, so it's like in becoming, so I say a monk because I feel like the spirit of a man, which is imbalanced. I'm born a woman, I want to be a woman, but I feel too much masculine energy, which has to like be cleansed from me, which is very triggering. So it's like anger, toxicity, and I'm aware of my triggers and those things, which also causes an imbalance and almost an illness in my body because I'm aware of it. Well, and where I say with dreams and replacement, the traumas, when I got my memory back, okay, remembering rapes and traumas, well, I've had to replace those spirits. But you also have to protect your eyes and your environment. Okay, you can't control the things that come at you from the environment, but you can control your actions and what you do, and then to try to understand them. So one of them being, okay, well, I have to heal because I understand I would attract. So I can't, it's like saying, if I know I'm the most loyal person on the planet. So if a man were ever to say women are all cheaters, that statement, they would be stupid. Quite frankly, because it'd be like, all right, well, I know who I am and what I have to give. And that's exactly why I'm not giving it away again until I can heal and attract the right partner. Because that's very important to me, because also too, ironically, if we get this, I've been so hurt, I want to be in a partnership, but you have to heal for that, because that's actually we're meant to be mated. We're not meant to be alone. But we tell ourselves that because I'm so angry that, okay, well, now I'm just going to live my life alone and I'm just going to, then we ironically didn't get through the process of evolution. It doesn't matter what somebody believes, right? Because somebody else could be, they're happy alone and whatever else. So I would challenge them to go, yeah, well, you're not stepping outside your comfort zone. You haven't healed because you can't live with another person because you've never come to actually, it's like the yin and the yang to understanding your own darkness. And it's actually a fear of giving yourself away. A lot of people I know would argue with me and make their points, and okay, great, right? So it's just, that's fine. It doesn't matter, right? Like, so I'm talking on the evolutionary scale of bringing in the yin to the yang. It's kind of like the Da Vinci Code of balancing masculine and feminine energy, feeling like the spirit of a man while it's imbalanced. You cannot be exposed to, and I'm not, pornography or any of those other things either, because that will change the energy shift. So for myself, having so much trauma, it's like, okay, well, the thoughts of those things are repeated in my head, almost like in an energy that has to be cleansed out and healed. In religion, though, too, it's taught if you have dark thoughts or that, well, then that means, no, that's bad. No. And I would say to master yourself, it's almost like the martial arts teachings. You have to understand the traumas and the dark thoughts so that you don't do something with them and to hurt anyone else or whatever. So for myself, it's like the depression is the deep rest. Well, that's where the work is. The anger turned inward, but that's the opportunity for the understanding. And that's why I've never repeated what was done to me. I'm a human. Every human makes mistakes. So that's like self-mastery that's the repenting part, right? So you are aware of your actions, you do something about it. Okay, you're trying to evolve as a person. You understand it's humanly impossible to know everything in the world. So everything and everyone always is an opportunity to learn. So if you have that attitude, that's the first base. You have an attitude that you know everything, you're the be all end all, and it's only you. Okay, well, that's what I'm trying to prove is part of the problem on why the rest of us are sick. That's not, you can't live in a world with people like that. And that's ironically too why so many people don't want to get into a relationship. They don't want to, I never controlled anyone. I don't believe in that. I don't believe you can force people to love you. I believe in empowering people. Okay, so why then wasn't I attracting that? Well, because that's a low self-worth thing. So at the same time, you have to have enough courage to be disliked, which is difficult. So in locking myself up, I was actually locked up. I want to, like, it's so important for me to people, it's transparency, like, because of the fear. My fears were the judgments of everyone else, really, and presenting this perfect image that doesn't exist. So, and I also really want to educate people on the side of the mental illness that there's no shame in that. And I had to realize, wait a minute. So I'm brainwashed to believe that there's something wrong with me. And I looked at my life. It's all these traumas and all these other people have never taken accountability for what they've done. I'm the one locked up in a cell. I'm the one mistreated. I'm the one . Okay, well, what goes on in a person's head? Well, that would depend. What saved my life, and this is the cycle of the brain, was the fact I started doing self-help work at 13. So I've read thousands of books. That's why I don't fit into any box, right? Never. And it seems no matter what form somebody's going to give me on anything, I'll never fit into the box because my scenario is always something different. Okay, well, then maybe that's my purpose, is to educate the educated and then empower and help the people that feel like you're a misfit. That, wait a minute here. Understand, I'm just mentally ill, right? So there's, I just am, right? So I'm in the group, right? Where the mentally, okay, I can feel your soul. So it's not, I don't believe I'll never look down on someone, look up, look down. No. Ironically though, and then this is where, until somebody who thinks, so the only people that I'll look down on, to be honest, are the ones who abuse their power. Because I had to realize those are cowards. So those are the ones sitting on like the top of what they believe a pyramid is, creating the problems for the rest of us. And that's kind of the point, is that if you can't understand your base privilege, I believe it's our first, it's like, what's the purpose of life for all of us? Really, the first thing you have to recognize, it's almost like you're a game character. What advantages have you been given? That's our almost responsibility for all of us to recognize and appreciate. Praying for something, gratitude on what we have, so that we have that base understanding, so that we all understand every single one of us on this planet is important and has a role. Okay, now how are we interacting with the rest of the world and giving? Well, I was just giving. Well, that's low self-worth. So then there's nothing left. You're pouring from an empty cup. That doesn't work either. So understanding you are important. Like you have a voice. You're important to save a life. So every day that I have thoughts of suicide, I have to go back to the cycle of, wait a minute, and that's right. So as I do the video, I get a little bit stronger. I'm getting more courage again, because I fall short. But then it comes back because I feel that purpose again of, wait a second, I am a warrior. These are the things that I'm meant to educate people on. And then when I do them, it reminds me of that. I ironically never saw myself that way, and I don't, because I'm just sitting with the broken. I am broken. But I spent my life wearing a mask. And that's the fun part is though too, sometimes that's like, so all these things it's like AI right now and showing different characters. I actually believe in that. And that's what the playfulness of showing multiple personalities is. I love theater and production. I want to get into more character. I love all of that. Well, that would be, my message to those people that have the base of those privileges, to really just appreciate the fact you get to do that. Not everybody gets those opportunities. So I'm so passionate and I'm so stubborn on what I take. I learned that at a young age, because when you take something, you're going to have to pay it back, and nobody likes to pay it on the back end. But what you took, what's that exchange? Well, that's kind of like you were born into privilege. What are you doing with it? You squander it. You think you're going to get an upgrade after you die? People that don't think about their death. When you're put in a situation at a young age where you're always thinking of your death, that changes things. Or people that have experienced close to death experiences, it changes things. But people that had that kind of security over them don't seem to have those thoughts. A lot of people, I didn't realize, don't think of their death. Longing for death all of the time. I'm trying to get rid of out of my head, and that's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's not living. Our brains are meant to make us, is there for survival. But I don't know how to be happy. Okay, well, I'm working on that. But we've had things, that's why you cannot, when you give your power away, that's giving that away. It's saying, oh, if you think you get into a partnership or a love, or you have a kid, or you get a dog, or whatever, you have love to go, no, that's temporary. You can't give that away. It's good to have the love, but when you understand nothing's permanent, so when you lose it, the loss. So it's like here, in this time, it's more meant for appreciation. So you can't, so it's, at the end of the day too, it's not anybody, you have to learn you're worthy of love. You are worthy of love. So if you feel suicidal, you have to understand your life. You have to understand your life's worth living, because nobody can save you. I don't expect anyone to be able to save me. I do expect people to do their jobs. And ironically, that's why I'm suicidal, because they have not. Which comes back into my statements of, if you take a job or a salary for something, or in a position and you signed up for a job, or whatever, you're claiming that you do, and you don't follow through with that, you're not understanding the damage you're doing to other people. And that's really any role. And it doesn't have to be a job even you're taking money for, or a role. It would be, and then going back, understanding. So I'm very old-fashioned. A lot of people, it depends on their own circumstances. Like I said, people think, so because I dance around in my bra and my underwear, I'm doing whatever. And I'm not judgmental to other people's lifestyles. Like, you can do whatever. My journey after the abuse that I've faced is the fact that I need to heal. I personally want to be a monogamous person and not share my body with just anyone, etc. That's how I am. So I'm not on dating apps. I don't do hookups. I don't do any, I don't. Taking it right. And I believe you have to, it's like, earn your way to disrespect. I'm old fashioned. I'll never pursue a man. I don't believe in it. I believe in it. That's against nature. It kind of shows things. And everybody's allowed to have their own beliefs. I'm telling you mine. So, because it turns me off. I'm not turned on by that, right? So you have to know yourself. You have to know that about you. So that's the self-mastery part. So it's like, okay, then the faith component is, what are you trying to work toward? But you have to be okay with that so it is that, okay, I have to master myself. But you know what, for what then? So what more empowering people to be the best version of themselves help, like, I really genuinely want for the world. I genuinely want people to understand the side of mental illness and the fact that we live in a world with each other, and globally, we have to understand how we're connected to each other. The first base thing is, women globally do not have their rights. And that's important for me, for people to understand. Does that make any sense to you? If so, keep watching. If not, you're welcome to throw your hate at me. Go ahead. You got to put it somewhere, sure. And if you're not willing to take responsibility for it for yourself, well, I guess my programs are triggering. I'm not going to sell you a program, though, right now. I'm not okay. But this will be part of the program, just you watching the video. So you just got that information for free. Are you truly, truly, truly committed to yourself? And I mean really committed to yourself. Are you ready to actually take your own life seriously and be responsible for yourself? Are you saying, well, I already am? Well, great. Well, then let's challenge you